Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Robert Indries. He's a global business advisor and he has generated $500 million in business, a business value for a lot of people who are laughing their ways to the bank. That's all I can say. Welcome to the show, Robert.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what you are talking. A lot of businesses, a lot of people who would want to be, who will get lured by this $500 million money. So that's a lot of money, Robert. Let's talk money. That's a lot of money. How did you do that? What does it take to generate so much of value for someone else?
So I think there are two main aspects that people need to know in order to achieve these results or any other results, that are important to them. So I was born poor myself, and we've, been working on the land, raising cattle, feeding chicken, and so on and so forth. So did a lot of that when we were very young. Never really had money for anything, so that is a state in which you are in. And if you want to change your state, if you want to change your current context, obviously you need to do things that you've never done before, right? You need to do things differently. And this is the same whether you're making no money right now, whether you're at 1 million and you want to go to 10, whether you're at 10 million want to go to 100, and so on and so forth, right? It doesn't matter. Whatever you've known until now has gotten you thus far, and then you need to do something differently for a sustained period of time in order to get where you want to go, right? So this training I typically provide live in a 3-hour seminar, right? So I'm going to try to condense those 3 hours into just 15 minutes just to give you the gist of it. If anyone has any questions, they can email me at robertindries.com, or they just Google my name, they'll find my website, whatever. They can get in touch if they have questions. However, I will condense this to as short as I can for it to actually be valuable. So the two things that matter, the only two things that really, really matter is number one, mindset, and then number two, strategy. This is the only two things that matter. Nothing else matters, right? It doesn't matter if you work your butt off, for 14 hours a day, every single day, weekends included, right? It doesn't matter, if you're, let's say, very, very proficient at doing something, but then that's not the thing that's going to get you where you want to go, and so on and so forth, right? Those things don't matter. The only two things that matter is mindset and strategy. When we talk about mindset, the only one thing we need to talk about, which is the above everything else, is the mindset of a victim versus a victor. And we all have victims in our lives that we look up to and we appreciate, we admire them for their discipline or for anything else we admire them for. And we all know victims in our lives, right? We all know the people that love to always complain, point fingers, find excuses, and so on and so forth. So in theory, I don't need to define these. However, let me just give you some tangents to see the differences. So number one, a victim points fingers, whereas a victor takes responsibility, right? A victim will say, this client, this employee, this contractor, this vendor, this whatever, right? No. If it's my business, my life, my career, my everything, I take responsibility for everything that happens. Number two, a victim finds excuses, whereas a victor finds solutions, right? You can't do both at the same time, at least. You can't do both, right? So stop finding excuses for why you didn't do or didn't achieve whatever you wanted to do or achieve. Just find solutions on how you can do that moving forward, right? A victim lacks resources. I don't have time, money, knowledge, whatever. I don't know. This is the common thing. I don't know. Robert, I don't know. Like, I wasn't born knowing. You weren't born knowing. No one was born knowing. Stop saying I don't know. It's, one of the dumbest things society says nowadays. Of course you don't know. Have you ever made $100 million? Of course not. Then if you haven't, then you don't know. You cannot know. There's no way of you to actually know. So stop saying you don't know, start saying I will find out, right? So again, a victim lacks resources. They say they lack resources. A victor is resourceful. They find the resources they need, right? They reach out to me. They send me an email to ask a question, or they send you an email, or they work with one of us, or whatever, right? They figure it out. They find the way, right? And there are many other differences between victim and victors, but we don't have time to go through them today. So the second thing is around strategy. So I'm going to give you two metaphoric examples that should, make take the point across. So number one, in the 1955, 1956, there are two very, very different cars at very different price points. Number one was the Volkswagen Beetle, which is very unique. Everyone knows about it, right? Or most people know about it. It became world famous. And then there's the Porsche. Everyone also knows the Porsche, very luxurious car, so on and so forth. So people can Google the images of the 1956 Beetle and the 1955 Porsche. And if they look very closely, they'll notice something that's very interesting. Their chassis, like the basically the foundation of the car is literally the same chassis. Like you'll see them, they're identical from many regards, right? Yet the Beetle was sold at $1,500 and the Porsche was sold at $6,000. So 4x more. So if today a Volkswagen is like 30 grand, the Porsche is 120 grand, right? So it's the same proportion even today. And then if you look at the Lamborghini, last year we were very proud to be part of Team Lamborghini in the 2022 DTM in Austria. And something that most people don't know, those Lamborghinis were freaking fast, powerful. We loved being part of the team. It was super, super cool. We met Ralf Schumacher there. It was super cool. The coach of our team won Le Mans twice, which is Le Mans is the most difficult race to win in racing history. So this guy won that race twice. And something that people don't know is over 50% of a Lamborghini is actually Audi components, over 50%. I don't want to exaggerate. I don't want to say something like 90%, right? But it's very significantly over 50% is only Audi components, and people don't know. Yet an Audi goes for maybe 100 grand, right? The cars that have those components, and the Lamborghini goes for $500,000, right? So again, same foundation, same structure. So the reason why I say this metaphors is because I want everyone in this audience, on this podcast, to understand that whilst every business is unique in their own way, their structure is always the same. And if you believe your business is unique in the way of structure and how it functions as a business entity, that will be the death of your business, because you will not see that you need to do the exact same thing that everyone else needs to do. And so when someone comes to me and says, Robert, I need more clients, right? Or Robert, I want to make more revenue. Or Robert, I want to increase my profit, right? I want to make more profit. I want to make more take-home money. These are the three main things people come to me about, right? I want more clients, want more revenue, or want more profit, right? Clients is obviously marketing, revenue is obviously sales, profit is obviously operations and how you run your business and your affairs, right? So these three things are basically what people are asking for. And it's so weird because these people are not used to thinking in terms of strategy. They're used to thinking in terms of goals. What's my goal, right? And this has happened so often. I tell people, okay, give me your plan for the next quarter, next year. And they say, I don't know, 500,000 in sales or this or that or whatever. I'm like, okay, I get your goal. Where's your plan? Where's your actual plan? I don't see your plan. Like, but Robert, that's the plan. I'm like, that's not a plan. If you say what you want to have, that's a dream, that's a goal. That's not a real plan on how you're going to get there. And so this is what people don't understand. You cannot get more clients. You cannot get more. This is impossible to do because guess what? Clients are results. Revenue is a result. Profit is a result. You cannot directly get a result. If you want more clients, I can tell you the only two things you need to do. Listen very closely. These are the only two things that you need to do in order to have more clients. Number one, reach out to more people, more contacts. Number of contacts needs to increase. And now number two, increase your conversion rate. That's it. More contacts, higher conversion rate. That is the only two things you need to do. If you believe you need to do something else, you are so mistaken, my friend, that you will, work on the hamster wheel your entire life because you believe that when there's a silver bullet or there's something else you need to do, which is flawed, right? You only need more contacts. You need to talk to more people. You need to increase your conversion rate per person you talk to. That's it. It's simple math. Once you do these two things, you will get more clients, my friend. Please stop wasting your time, wasting your life, wasting the life of your loved ones because you're not spending time with them. You're spending time doing, posting things on Facebook, which doesn't convert anyone, right? So please stop doing that. Start doing things that actually matter. Number two, if you want more revenue, the only two things you need to work on is number one, your transaction value, right? And then number two, the average number of transactions per client. Okay? So in terms of transaction value, you can sell your products at $50, at $500, $5,000, $50,000, $5 million. We're just now working on a deal with a company that everyone on this planet has heard of. And that deal size is around 6.5 million. I'm knocking on wood. I really hope we close that. If we close that deal, we will be $6.5 million wealthier, right? That's another 6.5 million added to the 500 million you're talking about right now, right? So that's basically one transaction value. Now you can work in transaction values of $1,000 a piece and make so much more than I've ever made. Or you can work in $9 a piece like Netflix, and you can again make 100 times more than I've ever made in my life because they're so much bigger than I am, right? So the transaction value doesn't matter if you figured out your business model. But that's one thing that you need to work on, transaction value. And number two is number of transactions. Netflix isn't the king of TV right now because they sell at $9, because they would go bankrupt. The reason why is because their number of transactions is almost infinite. Once you sign up to Netflix, you'll stay signed up for years and years and years. That's why they are where they are, right? People don't leave Netflix once they sign up, right? That's the number of transactions, okay? So you don't need to have a SaaS. You can have a services business where you do a service now, and then if you do great, 3 months from now, they might hire you again. And then a year from now, they'll hire you again. So again, number of transactions per client. And so number of clients times transaction value times number of transactions per year give you your revenue. So whether you make 50K a year or 5 million a year, this is the only three things that matter. And number of clients, I already told you, you cannot directly change. Number of contacts and and conversion rate you can change, right? And that gives you the result of number of clients. And then you multiply that by transaction value, multiply that by number of transactions, you get revenue. And then people tell me they want to increase their profit. Guess what? You cannot directly increase your profit. What you can do is you can increase your profit margin. You can increase your margin. Whether your margin is 5% or 10% or 50%, the only thing you can do is increase that margin. Pay people later, collect money sooner, pay less for a vendor, negotiate terms, get paid more for certain things that you do, whatever it is, right? Whatever you can do on a month-by-month basis to increase your profit margin will, at the end of the month and at the end of the year, give you or have you keep more money, right, for you as the owner or for you as the director, the VP of sales, whatever, because typically board level people are paid based on results, based on outcomes that they give, right? So I hope I managed to do this in 15 minutes. This is the gist of it. Obviously, there's so many questions. I have strategies on each of these, literal hundreds of strategies on how you can reach out to more people, how you can increase your conversion rate, how you can increase the number of transactions, how you can increase your profit margin, and so on and so forth. We do not have time on this podcast to talk about these things. I have not let Kaj speak a word, I feel, on this podcast, but I really wanted to get this information out to the audience so that you guys can start to see. You literally become aware. You see that, oh gosh, my strategy has been to get more clients, but actually there is no such strategy. I need specific strategies for specific KPIs that I need to measure. And I already told you the 5 KPIs that you can measure or you should measure and improve every single month in your business. And guess what? If you improve these only by 10%, only by 10%, month after month, 10%, I mean literally 10%. So if your contract, like let's say you have 1,000 contacts you're reaching out to every month, reach out to 1,100. Let's say your conversion rate is 10%, increase that to 11%, and so on and so forth. So just 10% increases in all of these will literally double your business in 6 months. I am not joking. Do the math. I don't have time to take you through the math today, but do the math yourself, and I can show you the math if you want to on an email, but this is how it works. We've been doing this over and over and over again for almost a decade, and it has helped us made hundreds of millions.
Absolutely, Robert. Absolutely. You have actually explained it very well, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you and understand more from you. In a podcast, it is very difficult to explain everything, and that too in 15, 20 minutes. We have got 15, but we'll go for few more minutes and to understand. So you told about all these things in terms of a small business or a medium-sized business. In terms, what should they be focusing on in terms of the tools? All these factors are, you reach out to more people, conversion rate. What are the tools? Can you do it yourself? What is the type of team that you should create? Will they be thinking like me? How does it work for me? What about the productivity level? Because it is very difficult for one person to do everything. And the things that you have said, you need a team for that. How should one look at that aspect, especially if you are a small business where you have a lot of aspirations, but you are still trying to build your business? How does that work? But you want to grow very fast, small businesses.
So when I was young, I'll tell you a story. When I was very young, I was a marathon runner, and I used to listen to audiobooks whilst I would run. I would run for over 10 miles, over 18 kilometers every day. And I would always listen to those, and those put some very big aspirations in my mind. Like I said, oh, I'm going to be a millionaire by next year, and then that obviously didn't happen. And then I said, okay, that's fine, I'm going to be a millionaire by next year. That didn't happen. And then I said, oh, I'll be a millionaire by next year. That didn't happen. Long story short, it took me 7 years, over 7 years, from the first time I said I'm going to be a millionaire next year to the point in which I actually became a millionaire. I made $1 million at my 25-year mark. So by the time I was 25, I made my first million, and I passed 10 million a little after when I turned 30. So this, in terms of aspirations, you can have aspirations. That's no problem, right? If Bill Gates wouldn't have had the aspirations he had, he wouldn't have become a billionaire, sorry, by 30 something, right? It's because he had the aspirations. He was crazy enough to believe he can do it, and then he focused on the right strategies to make it happen. So what I can tell people is to focus on the principles. Focus on the principles. As long as you focus on principles, your business and your life will go well. Let me tell you 2 principles. Number 1 is that you shouldn't spend money you don't have, right? Very important principle. Don't spend it. Just don't. Just stop yourself, right? Don't get into credit. Don't get into debt. Start using credit and debt to accelerate your growth. When you have, when losing something, doesn't mean, degrading your life, literally. Because there are so many people that let's say they make 5K a month, but they're 50,000 in debt or something like that. I'm like, dude, you shouldn't be 50K in debt. If you have to pay that off, if you lose your income, you literally go bankrupt, and you go to poverty immediately. Don't do that to yourself. So that's one principle, and there are many others. I'll tell you one final one. There's bad marketing, there's marketing, and then there's effective marketing, right? In all of these cases, you need to spend either money or time. You spend your time if you're yourself doing it. You spend your money if you hire someone else to do it. In all of these, you spend money or time, right? Bad marketing, or effective marketing. The difference between bad marketing and marketing is that in marketing, you track your actions and your outcomes. You track, you measure, right? You literally measure everything. And then the difference between marketing and effective marketing is that effective marketing actually generates significant ROI, right? which means that you not only do you track your actions and your outcomes, that you actually make tweaks to your campaigns based on the intel you got from the last campaign you had. We just ran a LinkedIn campaign for one of our businesses. It got I believe, let's say a 10% reply rate. However, only one meeting was booked, right? So only one meeting was booked in an entire week. So I asked the team, okay, what are you going to do differently next week? Said, we're going to increase or test new calls to action. Perfect. Well done. Right? That's it. That's all you need to do. You get the data, you see what's wrong, where can I improve, and then you make those improvements, right? A 10% reply rate is huge. But then just getting one meeting booked, some people would love it. Some people are like, oh my gosh, 4 quality meetings a month, I can grow my business like crazy. But for us, that's very small. We typically operate at much higher levels of effectiveness, right? Let's say 5 meetings a week or whatever. So basically, we want to increase that by 400%. So to increase it, we need to be very, very dedicated towards testing different calls to action. For every other person, we're going to test a different call to action all of this week, and then let's see next week what the results are.
Right, right. My last question to you, Robert, is to understand you were born in a very modest family in a
Yes.
small town in Romania, and you spent your early part of your life on farms, caring for livestock and working hard. And today, you are very extensively traveled, covering over 100,000 miles, 14 time zones, 17 countries. What has played bigger role in your growth? Is it your time on the ground, or is it your time above the ground and looking at the world? What does it work? What is the message here for business people who are looking at growth?
Um, I think something that has helped me a lot is I'm a civil engineer by background. I love numbers. I love data. Everything in my life is zeros and one. People love to come up with excuses. They love it. They're like, oh, well, I didn't. So, for example, if I can tell when I hire someone if they're a victim or a victor, right? They need to, let's say, book 5 meetings last week. And then we go to the weekly meeting, and they're like, they need to put the number 5 in the cell, right? So that they hit their goal, their quota. And they don't put anything in the cell, and they're like, well, Robert, last week this happened and that happened and whatever and so on. Like, okay, but what am I writing in the cell, John? They're like, well, I mean, the it should be 2, but sorry, it should be 5, but it's 2 because of X, Y. I can't write because of XYZ in this cell, John. I can only write a 2. So you are 60% underperforming, right? And that's a big problem, John. Like, well, yes, but I told you why. I don't care about the why, John. With all due respect to you, I don't care about the why. What I care about is how do you use that why to improve your strategies for this week and next week and the week after that, so that you don't have excuses next week, John. That's how I operate. I operate with numbers, right? So if John tells me 2, and then next week he tells me 1, the week after that he tells me 3, the week after that 2, I'm like, John, we have a problem. I either halfen your income, right, your salary, or you double your results. It's one or the other, John. Like, it can't be both, right? Or it's like we can't keep on like this. And that's it. So, but by the way, this is for you yourself. If you cannot generate for yourself 5 meetings a week, then it's unrealistic for you to expect anyone else, because it's not like they're a miracle worker, right? So don't be rude to others if you can do it yourself, right? Be humble, remain humble in everything you do, even if some people are much better than you, and you should hire people that are better than you at lead gen or marketing or engineering or whatever. But that doesn't mean you should be rude to them when they don't succeed. No, remain professional. Like, hire other people, test, track, measure, improve, right? This is what I'm talking about. So this is what I do. I just see the numbers for what they are, or I try to, as best as I can, and not be persuaded of the excuses, the complaining, the finger pointing, and all of that good stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is much to learn from you, Robert, and this is just a one podcast. Podcast. there is a limit to it. So for more, they will have to come to you. So how do they do that? What is the best way to learn more from you, and also to engage with you professionally for people who want to do that?
Of course. So if they Google my full name, the first 3 pages of Google should be me. It shouldn't be an issue. My website is myfullname.com, robertindries.com. And if they want to email me, it's just me@robertindries.com. They should let me know that they listen to this podcast, right? And then if we engage professionally, I'll give them a 10% discount on whatever they buy. So hopefully that helps.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you as well.